Hello, welcome to another AQA exam question. This is from the summer 2024 paper 2. So it's calculator 1, and we've got a nice trigonometry question here worth 3 marks. And we've got to use trig to work out the value of x on the left hand side of our triangle here. So if you pause your video and have a go. Okay, first thing I would always recommend you do before you start any trig question is just to write SAR, CAR, TOA, because you've got your trig ratios there. Good idea to perhaps write these on the formula sheet as perhaps at the start of your paper, save you a bit of time later on. And after that, if we label the sides on our triangle, so 31 is the hypotenuse, and that's always the side that's directly opposite the right angle, so that will be the longest side on this triangle. And then the side we're working with here is this x, so that is directly opposite that angle that's 24 degrees. So we can write our O here. The adjacent is the bottom, but I'm going to ignore that because we're not doing anything with the adjacent side. So we're not doing anything with this side down here. I'll label it there just to show you what it is, but we're not actually doing anything with it. So you can see here that we're trying to figure out the opposite, and we've been given the hypotenuse. So that tells us straight away it's our sine ratio that we need. This would have got you 1 mark just for identifying that on this question. Now, we've got to work out whether this is a multiplication or a division. Now, you can write it out algebraically, but what I would do is I'd just draw a formula triangle, like you do for speed, distance, and time. So we write the sine of the angle in the bottom left-hand corner. Middle letter goes on the top, which is the opposite. The hypotenuse goes down here, which we know is 31. So because we've got the sine of 24 written next to 31, that shows us straight away that this is a multiplication. So we can do 31 multiplied by the sine of 24, and that gives us a big long decimal number. So I'll just write down as many digits as I can fit on the page. So you can just write down 12.6 centimeters for this, I would say. I'd say 1 or 2 decimal places would usually be accepted unless they specify how they would like you to round the question, round the answer. And here is the AQA solution to this question. So as you can see, you can write it out like this. So the sine of 24 equals x over 31. That's because that's the opposite divided by the hypotenuse, which is your trigonometric ratio here. So because you've got your 31 down here, that would tell you it's a multiplication. If you knew the value on the top here, that's when you would be dividing that by the sine of 24. If you knew what x was and you were trying to figure out the hypotenuse.